I ask myself very often, what are you do Mexican in Qatar? And so I thought it was good to start this interchange of ideas more than a lecture by telling you about the office, about our philosophy, and how we came here. I create Legorreta Arquitectos many, many years ago. I don't want to tell you how many years ago, but I just tell you that it was the time when they were building the pyramids in Mexico. I built it, and the philosophy has remained the same. The idea is that we try to do the best architecture we can. Any mistakes, any errors are our responsibility. And it's rather easy to say that, but it's difficult to achieve it. So we devote all the time that is necessary. Quite often we turn to the waste baskets on several plans because we found a better idea, etc. Second is that we are convinced that there's something a little bit wrong in the education of architecture. We educate architects, and that's the way we were educated, that we are supposed to be geniuses. And it's the most wrong way to see architecture. Architecture is a social service. Our role in life is to build the spaces in which you are happy. If you're not happy in these buildings, then we didn't do our work right. And has go to extremes architecture in which, fortunately, it's over now because of the crisis, but we got to that point in which you may have heard about the star architect, in which the architect does something which is what he ever imagined, and then the users are supposed to adapt to that. And for us, it's completely the opposite. We are at the service of people. The other thing is that I cannot imagine a good building without a good client. And if you even go to the extreme in which I was forced to select, I will select first a good client and a good architect. So we love to work together with the clients because then we become friends, we have the same objectives. And that's the way we have worked all our lives. So I started the office that way. We started to work in Mexico. We love our country. We have very strong roots of architecture. So we were very much, have been always very inspired by the Mexican architecture throughout the years. It was, 70-something, the end of the 70s, that a rather famous Mexican actor who lived in Los Angeles, maybe some of you have heard of it, I don't know if his name was Ricardo Montalban. He called me and said, Ricardo, I love your architecture. And I'm very grateful to the United States. So I want to do something in the US to show that Mexico is not a country of burros, siesta, and Indians with a hat. Let's do a masterpiece. And we did it. I don't know if it's a masterpiece, but we did the house. And at that moment, I started to realize the importance of Mexican architecture. And so we decided that we should keep working outside of Mexico. We have been extremely lucky on that, because without getting into making propaganda or nothing, just remaining as architects, we started to work first in the US, mainly California and Texas, then other places, and we have ended up working around the world, which is a fascinating thing to happen, because we have been exposed to very different cultures. One of the sources of inspirations also to our life has been the Islamic architecture. And for us to go to the Alhambra in Spain, I have been there at least 15 times. It's very important. Then after that campaign, if you want to call it that way, of starting working outside, one day, Victor decided to be an architect against all the advice of everybody. Everybody told him, no, it's a very difficult career, done, and with your father on top of you, don't do it. Even certain very close relatives told him, and you're going to be like your father. It doesn't work. He was stubborn enough to be an architect. He never showed me anything. We used to play tennis 4 times a week, and he never showed me any of his work during his study. Then, when he became an architect, he said to me, Dad, I'm going to be an architect, but I want nothing to do with you. I said, perfect, go and work and use my friends and go and work. So he went to work to Japan, Fumihiko Maki. Then he went to Barcelona with Boigas when they were doing all the renovation of the city. Then he went to the United States to learn about computers. And then he went back to Mexico and said, I don't want to do anything with you. So he started to look with whom he worked. And suddenly they invited us for a competition. It was a competition for the Children's Museum in Mexico City. So I invited Victor and his friends to participate. And we did it outside of the office. I said, let's do it outside of the office. And you take care. And they were all kids. And the beautiful thing was that they accepted that they knew nothing. And I accepted that I had to give up. So we entered the competition. We did the presentation. It was a very flashy presentation because it was the chairman of the board was the president's wife. So I did the presentation. I ended up and I said, well, this is our dream of the building. And at that moment, Victor interrupted me and he said, Dad, we haven't finished. And I said to myself, oh my God, that's what you get by getting mixed up with kids. And the whole team came out with balloons, T-shirts, a logo proposal, and it was a party. At the end, we won the competitions, and then the little light bulb flashed, and we said, that's the way to work. So Victor took the office by assault, and by the extraordinary relation we have, he started to question things and make suggestions about it. Some of them I didn't have any answers. For example, he said to me, Dad, why don't you use any curved walls? And to me, to use a curved wall was almost a mortal thing. It was impossible. So we started to experiment with that, other materials, etc. And little by little, through the years, it has been how many years, Victor? About 20 years, we have developed the most beautiful relation you can imagine. Who does the design? I don't know. I don't care. Sometimes he starts, sometimes we start together, sometimes I start. And really, very honestly, I don't care about it. It comes out, and we both work as hard as we can to achieve the best. So one day, we received a request for proposals if we were interested in doing some projects in Qatar. And then I said to myself, well, Qatar, we're going to be exposed to the Islamic culture. That's great. So I came to Qatar, and we found an incredible world, as all of you have found. Unbelievable people. They have treated us incredibly well. And we discovered that we have much more Arab blood than what we think. The relation has been very easy. The emotions, the way of almost the body language, everything is so similar that we have worked very, very well. The team that has been put together for all the buildings have been wonderful. And now that we just finished this one, it's fascinating to be here. The only sad thing is that we only have to finish the student center And then we don't know what we are going to do without having work in Qatar. So we hope we are able to come and have other things to do here, because it's a fascinating country. To me, it's open-minded, everything is ready to go, and at the same time, there's a desire for perfection that we don't find very often in other parts of the world. So with these thoughts, we put together different projects in order to show you or try to transmit you what's the essence of what we do in architecture. Because it's very easy to say, yes, the Legorretas, those are the guys who paint, use strong colors. And it's not that, it's more deep than that. It goes deeper. It goes to really the essence of what is our culture together, combined with the original Indian, the Spaniard, and the Islamic culture, which are the emotions of mystery, light, shadow, the sense of scale, which is immense. The sense of scale of the pre-Columbian buildings is immense. That has a good, very strong relation with the Islamic world. So we thought that it was interesting to show you different projects of different types, not only this, and then end up showing you what we have done here in Qatar and try to explain you more in detail what is the purpose and the objective of what we have done here. So if you want, Victor, we can start. Can we put the lights off and then look at the...
I think we have been also lucky in the office about, because working in very different projects. We haven't tried to specialize in something in universities or in offices, but we have been able to work in houses, in factories, in hotels, and that has been very creative for us.